Welcome to Executive Leaders Radio, your spot in the corner office, the radio show where executives share their secrets to success. Executive Leaders Radio.
You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio, broadcasting from Cressa. This is your host, Les Smolin, with Vistage International, and my co-hosts, Andrea Dykes, Howard Insurance, Molly Ponpadit, SOAR Community Network, and Katie Brewer, the Brewer Group. We've got a great lineup of guests for you today on our show. Katie, would you kind of run down the guests?
We have Matt Petrozelli, CEO of Valley National Financial Advisors, Marc Bogan, President of the Fauquier Bank, Chris Taylor, CEO of Giovini, and Mike Mussio, President of FBB Capital Partners.
Thanks. And first up, we've got Matt Petrozelli, CEO of Valley National Financial Advisors. Matt, what's Valley National Financial Advisors?
Valley National Financial Advisors is a one-stop financial planning, investment management, and tax planning preparation firm based in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
And how big or small are you guys?
We have 40 employees and about $1.2 billion under management.
And how'd you get a job there?
My father-in-law was actually the founder of the company. And after working in New York for 10 years, he finally convinced me to come help him at the firm.
And why is that? What did he see in you that he thought this could be a benefit to the firm?
My father-in-law founded the firm 35 years ago, and as the firm began to age, I think he needed to bring somebody in with some outside experience, big firm experience that could come in and provide some dynamic leadership and put the infrastructure in place to see that business continue to grow and perpetuate.
And where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Richfield, Connecticut, which is about 40 miles north of New York City.
And any siblings?
I have one older sister.
Who's the smart one?
My sister.
Why is that?
She's always been the academic leader, academic award winner. She's got an advanced degree, and she's got a JD. She's a practicing attorney in a large corporation.
Sounds
very, very
accomplished.
successful.
Yeah. How about mom and dad? What were they doing?
Dad worked for IBM for 31 years as a corporate executive, and Mom stayed home with us to make sure we didn't get in any trouble.
Okay, Katie, what do you got?
What kind of sports did you play when you were in school?
Football and baseball mainly.
And what role did you play?
In high school, I was the captain of the football team and the third baseman on the baseball team.
When you were captain of the football team, how did you get that role?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to be able to excel on the field. Right, in any leadership role or any leadership acceptance, you have to be able to do the job. I was also really good at kind of building consensus and working on getting the team together, both leading the team and both being a good teammate.
And how does that translate into what you do for Valley National Financial Advisors?
Well, Valley National Financial Advisors is almost 40 employees large, so you have to be able to build the strategy, build the consensus, build the team. And now that we've grown to where we are, we really, I need to be a good teammate and really let the people excel around me.
Where'd you learn to do that? Where'd you learn to build consensus? Who were you modeling?
Well, I think my parents do a really good job of building consensus.
What do you mean?
As a small family, it's just my dad, my mom, my sister, and I. We didn't have a lot of other siblings or other family members around. We really had to kind of build consensus and work together as a family, especially with my dad gone a lot, traveling with IBM. There were a lot of things we had to work together on.
What are you thinking, Molly?
Well, outside of sports, what other hobbies and interests did you enjoy as a child?
Outside of sports, I really loved to be outside, exploring. I did a lot of hiking, some mountaineering when I was in college, and really getting out there, not just on the hiking trail, but really out there, really out in the remote wilderness and learning what that's all about and enjoying that experience.
What do you mean? What were you doing and why were you doing it?
I always liked to do things that were off the beaten path, and getting out in the wilderness is one way to do that. I was a graduate of National Outdoor Leadership School. I spent some time in the Yukon, Canada area, mountaineering and learning leadership skills and applying those and practicing leadership.
How old were you when you were doing that?
I was 19, 20 years old.
Why is doing things differently important to you, and how does that translate into your role as a leader today?
I think you have to spend time looking at things from a lot of different angles, looking at things, innovating, challenging the status quo, and really looking to explore other alternatives and other ways to do things, especially in today with technology and the fast pace of business. if you're just accepting the status quo and not exploring other opportunities to do things, you're probably going to get left behind.
What's the thing you learned about yourself from all that outdoor extreme hiking and outdoor stuff that you were doing? What did it teach you about you? What
it taught me is that I'm really good at strategizing paths, managing risk. I think being outdoors, extremely when you're in the remote areas, risk management is extremely important. And I found that I was a good manager of risk, not only for myself but also for teams.
How does that translate into what you do now?
Well, managing risk in financial services is the name of the game. I think we really spend a lot of time evaluating risks as we make investments, as we build the infrastructure of the firm for the next generation, really trying to look at doing a pre-mortem versus a post-mortem and really making sure that we have an opportunity to say what's the worst case scenario, what's the best case scenario, and apply capital accordingly.
Go ahead. Andrea, what are you thinking?
In the green room, you told us that you were known among your peers as being really social. Tell us more about that.
I really enjoyed as a young man, being involved not only with the football guys, for lack of a better term, but also people from different walks of life, different areas, different interests. I found that I really enjoyed spending time with people outside of my normal clique, and that's been really a great thing moving forward as I was in college and into business, to be able to relate to a lot of different type of people.
And why does that inclusivity matter at the time and today when you lead your business?
Well, I think inclusivity is important because when you're building consensus in a business, you need to be really evaluating a lot of different viewpoints, a lot of different ways of doing things. If you surround yourself with people that all do the same thing the same way that I do, we're probably going to miss out on things. So you need to make sure that you're including a lot of other people and a lot of other viewpoints. Not that we need to make a decision by consensus, but you should have all the facts and all the angles in order for a leader to make a decision.
Did anyone teach you that as a kid? How'd you learn that?
I mean, I'd like to say that I model myself after my dad. He was really good at, getting people together, hearing different opinions. I obviously didn't see him doing that professionally as a young man. It was in a corporate office, but seeing him do that in our neighborhood or at our country club or another venue where he was volunteering his time, he was very, very good at doing that.
Go ahead, Molly.
You also mentioned that your father-in-law recruited you, right? What makes your participation in the organization a good fit and a balance to what he brings to the organization?
So my father-in-law is extremely intelligent and he's extremely analytical. He's a CPA by trade, and he is a fantastic financial advisor, one of the best I've ever seen, if not the best. And what I can bring to the table is I can bring a fresh look at the overall business structure and the way that we work with our clients and the way that we operate our business, allow him to be great as an advisor and as a founder of the firm, and I can really come in and help carry his vision to the next level, something that he probably doesn't have time or at times the expertise to do.
What about Mom? Mom was a stay-at-home mom, you said?
Mom stayed at home, yep.
And what is it you take from her that you use today?
My mom is very caring and compassionate, and I think I take that with me every day as I really try to treat people the way that I want to be treated. That's the golden rule, right? And my mom practiced that very well. Additionally, with my dad gone a lot, my mom was a very strong and independent person, and I saw her do things independently that at the time a lot of other women or other moms were not doing. And so she's an extremely strong, independent person, and I believe that had a big influence on my sister and I to find our own paths of independence.
Mm-hmm. Molly, were you going to ask a follow-up question there?
Were you and your sister competitive, or were you more collaborative in nature growing up?
We were more collaborative. We weren't very competitive. She was 3 grades higher than me, so she was great. She really looked out for me as an older sister, and at home we really worked together to make sure that we had a great place to live and a great place to grow up.
Sounds like you have a lot of admiration for her. What is it about the way she kind of carries herself that kind of informs how you see her?
Yeah, so Jackie was always such a hard worker at school and got a law degree, and what I admire most about her today is just her as a parent and as a very accomplished corporate attorney, how she's able to balance everything in her life. She's got 2 young children herself, and she does it all. She balances it so well, and she does it with grace, and she's just the prime example of a really hardworking parent and a hardworking corporate attorney at the same time.
Does she
it's
know
impressive.
that you think about her that way?
Probably not. She probably will when she hears this.
Now, yeah. All right, what's the website address, Matt?
ValleyNationalGroup.com.
We've been speaking with Matt Petrozelli, CEO at Valley National Financial Advisors. Don't forget to visit our website, executiveleadersradio.com, to learn more about our executive leaders, and we'll be back in a moment right after this Business Spotlight.
Want to help building your business with help from this show's CEOs? Our CEOs can help you uncover more opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that. They've succeeded in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars, and some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. The same CEOs you've heard on the show for 10 years may be willing to help you build your business, uncover new opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that, succeeding in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars. And some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com.
We're back, and you're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Les Smolin. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our next guest. We've got Marc Bogan, president at the Fauquier Bank. Marc, what's the Fauquier Bank?
It's a $750 million community bank in Fauquier and Prince William counties.
And how'd you get a job there?
I started my career in Charlotte, North Carolina in 1990 with the Wachovia Bank, and then went to Bank of America, and then in 2000 started in community banking and progressively got smaller. But I started with the Fauquier Bank 3.5 years ago.
And what was the reason for you coming to work with them at that point?
So I was with a small community bank in Charlotte, North Carolina that was a turnaround, and me and several other executives came in and were successful in turning the bank around. And so once we were able to do that, I looked around at what the next opportunity would be, and I got a call from an executive recruiter that I knew, and the Fauquier Bank was looking for a CEO. Their previous CEO had announced his retirement in March of 2015, and so I joined the bank in February of 2016.
Great. Where are you from?
Originally from Beaufort, South Carolina.
From Beaufort. Now, you have any brothers or sisters?
I have one older sister.
And what's it like being the younger brother?
It's fantastic. So she paved the way, made all the mistakes, and then I got to come along behind her and be the golden child.
Okay.
Not really.
And Mom and Dad, what were they doing?
Mom was a executive assistant at the school board in Union, South Carolina, and my father was a CPA and the chief financial officer for the local hospital.
So they were pretty involved in the community there.
Both very involved in the community and also very involved in their kids and church and all the other things.
Church and community, those two things kind of play, same side of the same coin for you?
Absolutely.
What do you mean?
Well, church being the most important, being the most important foundation in my life, and as a result of both my parents being strong believers, so church has always been a central role in me and in my life. And then community, working in the community banking industry, community is critically important, and contributing and giving back and participating in the community is vitally important for me and for our organization.
Yeah, let me throw this to Molly. You wanted to follow up on some questions on family values there?
Yes, I did. So in the Green Room, you talked a lot about Dad leading by example, and that he, through his action, showed up. So how do you then use those values today, and how do you lead by example with your team?
So I try to lead by example by always being willing to do whatever is necessary in order to be successful. And I say that success is function of outcomes, not activities. So whatever it takes to be successful is what we should do. But leading by example means that you'll do whatever is required, and that you'll encourage and help and coach and mentor and motivate others. But it's just being willing to do whatever is required in order to be successful and not putting yourself above anything.
Where'd you learn that?
Learned it from observing my parents, I think, primarily, and then learned it, by, whatever success in different organizations, be it, basketball teams or baseball teams growing up, or in school, and, working in groups in school, or, in other ways, just observing and seeing people be successful by, working hard and not necessarily being a cheerleader, but being somebody that's willing to dig in and do whatever it takes to get the job done.
Go ahead, Kate.
How did your father demonstrate that to you?
He was always willing to, do whatever it took. And even though he was the chief financial officer for the hospital, when he went to the cafeteria, the people in the cafeteria would come out and hug him, and he knew their kids' names, and he knew the people that worked there. And so he exhibited to me by just being willing to do whatever it took, but also by building relationships with anybody and everybody inside of the organization, no matter what their job or their role was. He built a relationship with them. And
how does that translate to how you run Fauquier County Bank?
Well, I like to think that, everybody on the team is a part of the team. And, what I tell the organization and the people that I work with is, although we like to think of ourselves as a family, we're actually a team. My daughters are my family, and there's never anything that they can ever do that will change that. But everybody on our team has a responsibility to the team. And so we're a team, and we act like a team, and that's how we're successful as an organization, by operating as a team.
Where did you hone those observational skills when you were younger?
Participating in teams and being involved in sports primarily, and learning that teamwork is important, and no one person is more important than the other, and everybody has to do their job to the best of their ability with a mindset of excellence in order for the organization to be successful.
So on those teams, when you were a kid, what sports did you play? What positions did you hold?
I played primarily basketball and baseball. I liked all sports and played all sports, but the two that I played primarily were basketball and baseball. And in basketball, I was the point guard, and on the baseball team, I was the shortstop.
And what about basketball? What did you like about basketball?
It was five guys working together as a team to be successful, and preparation and practice. Although I didn't love practice, but it was part of what made us successful. We had a great coach who was very organized and very disciplined, and I learned a lot from him and watching him and how he organized practices. And we practiced with an intent to be excellent, and that enabled us to win games and be successful.
And what do you bring from that experience to your role today at the bank?
Be organized, be prepared, have a strategy, have a plan, know what you want to accomplish, and that's a big part of being successful, is just being organized and know what it is you want to accomplish.
When did you become aware that actually being organized was a key ingredient to being successful?
Probably when I got out of college and went to work. I probably would have done better in college if I'd applied those concepts. But when I got out of college and went to work, and we had a very good basketball program, and a lot of it was to do with, we brought a coach in when I was very young, and he built a group of people and kind of took those guys with him through the years. His practices were very organized, and we ended up being very successful as a team. So
I want to ask you about work, but in a different capacity. Tell us about your experience when you were 15.
I was working construction.
And how'd that come about?
I needed a job and wanted to make some money, and so somebody told me that the local construction crew was hiring, and I went down and got a job. And the job started at 6 o'clock in the morning, and a lot of kids my age probably weren't willing to go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was, because I wanted to make some money. And I think they were paying $4.50 an hour, which was a little more than minimum wage. And so to me, that was good money as a 15-year-old. And so
Did you get to keep it?
I got to keep it. I think I paid a little bit in taxes, but not much. Pay more in taxes now than I did then.
What did that experience teach you, construction to banking?
Hard work, being willing to outwork people. So,
but
banking,
you weren't like the other folks there, you said.
I was not like the other folks, because most of the people there, it was their permanent job. It was only my summer job. But it taught me that, hard work is critical, because banking is a commodity. And so, the way that we deliver value is by providing better service. Our product is the same as every other bank or every other financial institution. It's a commodity. It's the same size, shape, and color as every other organization. So we're successful by delivering, a little higher quality of service, being a little more agile and a little more flexible and responsive.
You had made a comment during the green room that you hated failure more than success. What did you mean by that?
I hate to lose. I can't stand to lose. And I love winning and I love being successful, but what drives and motivates me more than anything else is just hating to lose. I'm not a good loser. Now, I'm a gracious loser, but I hate losing.
What's the significance of losing? I equate it with failure. What do you equate it with?
I equate it with not being the best and failing and not achieving your goal, not accomplishing your objective, and somebody being better than you. And I want to be the best at everything that I do, whether it's playing basketball or playing my kids in tic-tac-toe. I want to win.
You also mentioned at the same time the importance of family values and ethics, and so it seems to me that you want to win, but not at any cost.
Absolutely. I mean, there's some things more important than winning, absolutely. However, I never let my daughters beat me at tic-tac-toe because I felt like if I let them win, then they would be that's the wrong value to learn. So I wanted them to win because they were better, and they beat me at tic-tac-toe now.
But that gratitude and humility that is so important to you, tell us about that and how it plays into winning today.
Well, I think there's more important things in life than winning, and to me, it's faith and family first, and business is way, way down the list as far as that goes. So, my father was a very high integrity, decent, honest individual, and he taught me that being humble and being hardworking was much more important than winning any day of the week. So that's important.
Hey, Mark, what's the website address?
It's tfb.bank.
We've been speaking with Marc Bogan, president at the Fauquier Bank. Don't forget to visit our website, executiveleadersradio.com, to learn more about our executive leaders, and we'll be back in a moment right after this break.
We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce Chris Taylor, CEO of Govini. Chris, what is Govini? What are you guys doing?
Govini is a commercial data company that was founded to advance both America's security and competitiveness.
Uh-huh. And how large or how small is this company?
35 employees right now.
35 employees. But you were the CEO of a company that was how many employees? I think you said 16,000 or something?
16,000.
So you're 16,000 and now you're 35. Okay. You started another got involved with another business. Did you start this firm?
I did not.
All right. So you were brought in to take it to the next level. Where are you from originally?
I was born in Richmond, Virginia, but I was raised in South Buffalo, New York.
Mm-hmm. What happened when you were 6?
My dad passed away.
How many brothers and sisters you have?
2 younger brothers and an older half-sister.
Uh-huh. So when Dad passed when you were 6 with 2 younger brothers, what happened to the family dynamic?
It brought us closer together out of need and love.
Well, as the older brother, you probably were the one that helped tie it together, or you could have ripped it apart. What was your role in tying it all together?
I guess I was kind of like my mother's executive officer. I made sure that what she wanted done got done.
Well, the being the executive officer for your mom, what's that have to do with your being the CEO of Govini now?
Well, I think that the translation is any business, any small startup that is working its way through needs to get things done, and being pivotal in that is important.
Mm-hmm. And let's see. So you also mentioned there was a bit of an issue growing up, a young boy without a father. Tell us about that.
Sure. People around me had their fathers taking them to father-son picnics, things of that nature. But what was really most important, what I learned later in life, is I wasn't raised by my biological father, but I was raised by 50 neighborhood fathers.
What do you mean? What are you talking about? Give me an example.
People in my neighborhood's very close, so fathers of other families would certainly act as your father if you were doing something well or if you were doing something out of line.
Like, give me an example of what they would teach you.
How to shave for the first time.
Huh. Let me ask you a question. So I understand that you were raised with 50 dads. Somebody would teach you how to shave and everything else. How have you become everybody's father? Well, let's see. You were the CEO of a 16,000-person company, weren't you?
I was.
Did it ever occur to you that you were the master father?
I don't think I ever looked at it that way, but it's certainly a central figure in helping.
Do you see a similarity there?
I do.
What is it?
That all organizations need a figure of certainly patience, but also a stalwart that's going to be there.
Mm-hmm. Just want to make sure I understood. Andrew?
Chris, did Mom ever remarry?
She did not.
And what did that teach you about Mom, or in general?
My mom believed that she was married to one person, whether my dad was alive or not, and it gave me it made me revere women more with her persistent patience.
What do you mean by that? Revere women?
My mom raised 3 young boys by herself in not very good financial circumstances, and she did it with grace and dignity.
I got the sense in the green room you have a real strong sense of loyalty. Tell me how that plays out today.
Well, I'm certainly very loyal to my brothers, no matter what, but it also develops a loyalty across any organization that I've chosen to associate with.
Why is that so important, that loyalty? I read people suing other people in business. What are you talking about loyalty?
You can't win and win big if your organization is not a loyal organization.
Wow.
There's no harmony, there's no alignment without a loyalty.
Well, I'm not arguing. You built a business of 16,000 people and sold it. Now you're starting another one at 35. You must know what you're talking about. Daniel?
Yeah, so you talked a little bit earlier about, having the 50 fathers, but I want to kind of get a little bit more into that. I mean, can you talk a little bit about the things that they were teaching you and what you learned from having 50 different perspectives?
Sure. So all of these perspectives and weighing them has helped me today. For instance, we do a lot of work in the Pentagon. It's a Fortune 1 organization with a $750 billion budget. The ability to negotiate and navigate various points of view inside that building, for me, is a direct result of hearing and weighing the various different thoughts of my 50 fathers growing up.
Alex?
Chris, in the green room, you talked about playing a lot of sports. What was your favorite sport?
Rugby.
And what role did you play?
I was a hooker.
Man, that's tough being in the pack. What did you learn playing hooker?
That every once in a while you have to spread the pain across a bunch of loyal brothers.
And how's that translated into how you are as a CEO?
Well, I think we shouldn't endeavor to do anything in business or life if we're not going to do it with people that we care about and who are equally committed to the same vision.
That's excellent. Now, you've had a chance to be CEO of a 16,000 organization. What's different and similar about being a CEO of a 35-person company?
Day and night, moon and sun are the differences. Certainly playing with your own money in a startup versus using other people's money in a large organization is very, very different. It's a different stomachache that you get. But I think the similarities are if you do it right from the beginning, you can grow a culture that outlasts you. And that's how businesses ultimately become great. They outlast whoever the CEO is at the time.
John?
So tell us about your military service.
I spent 14 years in the Marine Corps as an enlisted infantryman and Force Recon Marine.
And what did you learn in that 14 years? What are the key things you took away from that?
I think certainly discipline, but I think above and beyond that, that a shared values and a strong culture gets you through anything.
So do you have any kids?
I do. I have a 27-year-old daughter named Erin and a 22-month-old daughter named Lucy.
So you mentioned strong respect for strong women, shared suffering with brothers, and discipline. What are the key things you're trying to pass along to those two young ladies?
Well, I hope that I'm passing along that the world is beautiful and it's a kind place, and sometimes it's not. And that to be able to balance between when to be kind and compassionate and when to be prepared to deal with struggle is every bit as important.
How young were you when you started making money?
About 12 years old.
Doing what?
Oh, man, I delivered papers. I cut grass. I had a grass cutting business. I had a snow blowing business.
What did you learn from the snow blowing business that helped you grow a 16,000 person firm?
That scale matters. It's really hard to drag a snowblower from house to house in winter when you can't drive yet.
Mm-hmm. What was your major in college?
I was a theater major when I first went to college.
Now, what does a theater major, what's that have to do with building a 16,000 person firm and now a 35 person firm that you hope to grow as well?
I think, if anything, it gave me a storytelling appreciation for storytelling, and I practice it. It is, in my view, the most important trait that any CEO can have.
Is what?
Storytelling.
Why?
Good story. You're trying to if you're trying to elicit greatness from everybody in your organization, you have to be able to raise them up and point them all in the same direction.
When you were a kid, who had the greatest influence on you?
My mother.
What do you had these 50 men. What are you talking about?
But my mother was the core, was the center. So
how? What do you mean?
She just made sure that everything was okay. She, regardless of the challenge of the hardship, she made sure that things were okay, and she did it in a way that didn't freak us out, that didn't do anything but cause us to come closer together.
Mom was steady Eddie?
Wildly so.
What's that have to do with being the CEO?
Well, I think, as any other CEO would know, that sometimes things go well and sometimes things don't. What we do in the sunshine doesn't really matter. What we do when it's raining and storming is the thing that matters the most.
What do you mean by that?
Everybody's a good CEO when the numbers are good. Not everybody's a great CEO when you've suffered something and the numbers aren't great and you're trying to bring them back.
And what's that have to do with your role in that rugby team?
You have to spread that pain across very trusted people in order to get back to right.
Tell me what you mean by that.
It is a fool's errand to think of the great man theory that one person can run a company better than anyone else. It is a team that is forged both in we'll call it business battle and other things that actually meets these challenges.
What's the website address for Govini?
Govini.com.
We've been speaking with Chris Taylor, CEO of Govini, here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website, executiveleadersradio.com, to learn more about our executive leaders. We'll be back in a moment, right after this break. Want to help building your business with help from this show's CEOs? Our CEOs can help you uncover more opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that. They've succeeded in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars, and some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. The same CEOs you've heard on the show for 10 years may be willing to help you build your business, uncover new opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that, succeeding in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars. And some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com.
We're back, and you're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Les Smolin, with Vistage International. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our next guest, Mike Mussio, President at FBB Capital Partners. Welcome, Mike. Mike, what's FBB Capital Partners?
We're a full-service wealth management firm located in Bethesda, Maryland.
And how big or small are you guys?
We have $1.2 billion in assets under management, and we have 15 employees.
And how'd you get a job there?
I met one of the co-founders of the firm, Susan Fulton, about 17 years ago, and I was working for another shop, and we were referring business to FBB Capital. And Susan had courted me. I joked that she courted me longer than I dated my wife. So, and I ended up there about 6 years later.
What did she see in you that basically said, I would love to have this gentleman working here for us?
I think she saw somebody who worked well with clients and had some confidence in working with people that were much older than me at the time and had money and not afraid to ask questions, but also somebody that complemented some of the analytical team that she had already put together.
Where are you from?
I grew up in Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio. In Columbus, Ohio, or outside?
I went to school in Westerville, but the zip code was Columbus.
Okay. And any brothers or sisters? 2
younger brothers.
And were they smarter or?
Both very much smarter than I. Both valedictorians of their respective classes.
Really?
Yes.
And what was the thing that you seemed to excel at, if it wasn't being the valedictorian of their schools?
I was probably the more social of the three, the one who organized games at the park, or going fishing with friends, or getting a group of guys and girls together to go to the swimming pool, whatever that might be.
Sounded like you used the term earlier, little rascals.
Yes,
what do you mean by
right.
that?
Well, each of my brothers, we were 2.5 years kind of in scale apart from each other. So it looked like little rascals, or Stand By Me, 20 kids on bikes going to the park.
And your role was what?
Usually I'd start the phone chain in the morning to get that group together.
So you were the guy who got everything started?
Yep.
Huh. Okay, what were Mom and Dad doing?
Mom and Dad were both civil servants. Dad worked for Adult Parole Authority for the state of Ohio. My mom was worked in the accounting department for a local municipality. And Dad had a carry-out with my uncle for the first 13 years of my life.
Molly, you want to ask some questions around that?
Yeah, so as a young adult, what were you exposed to? What kind of activities or work that led you to care about financial services?
Yeah, so, Dad had the carry-out not only because he enjoyed doing it, because we needed the additional income when Mom was staying home. And so I got exposed to, him coming home from one job and turning around 2 nights a week, going to another, and then on the weekend, spending one day on the weekend. And then I would go with him, usually with my younger brother, and spend some days on this weekend sweeping out the shop and restocking shelves. I was probably 8, 9 when we were doing that on a pretty regular basis.
You mean you weren't out playing?
We were out playing quite a bit as well, but we would go typically in the morning from like 9 to 12 on Saturday mornings.
What else are you thinking, Molly?
What did your parents teach you about money? Were there certain things that you just witnessed that helped you to process and lead you to really choose this path?
Yeah, we didn't have a ton of it, so they were good budgeters. My brothers and I think from the time we could put food in our mouths, were trying to eat them out of house and home. So whenever it was led to something whether it was a project in the house, putting on an addition, something like that, they always saved that money up before we did anything. They never borrowed to do that, and so
you were aware of that at the time?
No, at the time I was not aware of specifically. My brothers and I joke we didn't really have an awareness of that until after the fact, right?
So you and your brothers all worked in the store with your father?
Yeah, we would take turns, and as my younger brothers got older, I would always vie for working on the morning that my uncle was working, because he would actually give us $5 and a pack of baseball cards, where my dad would give us the pack of baseball cards. So,
did your father know you were playing him?
He was privy to what my angle was, for sure.
And why did you work in the store at that young age?
It was an opportunity to spend time with Dad and my brothers and meet people. It was it was the neighborhood market, right? So you'd see the same folks that I'd see on the football field or a baseball diamond. I'd see the parents and the kids come in, and it was a social thing.
What did you learn from that experience that you bring to your current job?
I think any opportunity to be involved in the community and be out in front of whether it's coaching kids sports or involved with the church, that's something that's part of my DNA.
What do you mean?
It's what I was exposed to as a kid, and it's something that I've continued to do in my life. And my wife and I have our kids involved in stuff as well, and we hope that they are good citizens, I guess.
Is that important?
I think it's very important.
What do you mean?
Well, if we're not all good citizens, then we're subpar citizens, and that wouldn't be as fun of an active and enjoyable place to live, I don't think.
And does that show up at work for you too?
Yeah, it does. We try to be good corporate citizens. We, the firm independently, and then obviously the partners and the employees privately, all fund and spend time doing things that are important to them, and things that can enhance the community.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Katie, do you have a follow up there?
What was your first job when you started earning money?
My first job was paperboy. I had a daily paper route when I was in a weekly paper route when I was in 6th grade, and then I was able to get on the Columbus Dispatch in the 7th grade, and I held that route for 3 years.
And what did you do differently than other kids?
Well, I got up at 5:15 6 mornings a week, or 6 mornings a week, and 5 on Sunday. But I was a young paperboy for the daily route, and I learned quickly on the weekends that when you went from 70 papers during the week to the Sunday papers, that it was good to hire my younger brothers to help me drop the inserts on Sundays. So
there you are, instigating and organizing all over
again.
That's
right, it's family affair.
Did we miss something about the crew? You had some experience with crew, sport-wise.
Yeah, I played kind of traditional sports through high school, but I went to a large state university, Ohio University, and I did not have the basketball skills to walk onto the team, so I tried. But I did have, I had some height, so I joined the rowing team. And my junior and senior year, I was captain and president of the rowing program.
How'd that shape you?
We were a club team racing against varsity programs, and so we I say that we had most crew teams had kind of a 6'3" average height, and we had the front and the back of the boat were 5'6", and then we towered in the middle at 6'8", and so to make sure that everybody's rowing along together, you had to kind of adjust everybody's swing pattern a little bit, everybody's stroke, and it was just a fantastic experience. And those guys are still some of my best friends. I was in many of their weddings. Many of them were in mine. I married my coxswain. My wife was my coxswain my junior and senior year, which was kind of taboo at the time, but
So you mentioned in the green room that you were sort of not a natural leader, but a reluctant one. Did that start showing at crew, or was there a time earlier than that?
It did. The people who actually founded the club were a couple years older, and we all knew that they were going to be graduating, and they asked me to step into that role as the president of the team, which had not only team responsibility for practicing and competing, but budgetary responsibility and fundraising responsibility.
Other than your height, though, why do you think they picked you?
I think I was somebody that got along with everybody. I was never. I've tried to be open-minded to all ideas, and know that I'm far from know everything, and we were trying to corral 40 guys and 6 women coxswains, and I think that was probably the number one reason. And definitely probably been a pretty significant key to any success I've been fortunate to have.
How do you use that at work now?
The boat swings best with I've learned to make the boat swing with people of all different kind of backgrounds and different strengths and weaknesses, and so trying to build that team and complement those different characteristics is I would say my most important job function today.
That's great, Mike. Hey, Mike, what's the website address for FBB Capital Partners?
It's fbbcapitalpartners.com.
We've been speaking with Mike Mussio, president at FBB Capital Partners. Katie, can you run through the guests that we had today?
We had Matt Petrozelli, CEO of Valley National Financial Advisors, Marc Bogan, president of the Fauquier Bank, Chris Taylor, CEO of Giovini, and Mike Mussio, president of FBB Capital Partners.
And I'd like to thank my co-hosts, Katie Brewer of the Brewer Group, Andrea Dykes, Howard Insurance, and Molly Ponpadit, SOAR Community Network, for helping develop our storyline, hopefully delivering to our listening audience an entertaining and educational show. And I'd like to thank our listening audience for listening. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a radio show. Don't forget to visit our website, executiveleadersradio.com, to learn more about our executive leaders. Have a great day. Bye.